What is good, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of JohnnyVTV Live. Apologies for a couple-week hiatus. We've been really sick on this crew the last couple weeks, so we just had to take some time to fully get better. I know we missed some football, but we're back at it for Week 15, fantasy playoffs. We're getting down to the home stretch for NFL teams trying to fight their way into the playoff picture. But before we get into that, Nick, Kyle, how we doing today, fellas?
Johnny, go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I'm not 100%. But hey, I'm here, right? Just like a hockey player.
Just like Bill Belichick, no days off. Yeah, we're both not feeling well, but I was happy that the Mets got Max Scherzer. Let's hope they get Buck Showalter this week. But just because they made some signings does not mean they're anywhere close to competing. But Vegas disagrees. They actually have the second best odds to win the World Series, which makes absolutely no sense. But let's see them go get like Chris Bryant first before I get any sort of excitement about the New York Mets.
We're gutting through it, boys. I appreciate you guys hanging tough and just giving it your all for this Tuesday show. And Nick, absolutely looking forward to your final thoughts when it comes to baseball. And real quick, I have my futures bet on the Mets last year, and they just folded as Frank the Tank biasly predicted that they would.
Give it up for Frank. He was absolutely spot on.
I think he spoke it into existence. That's what I think. I think he jinxed it, and it really put us in a bad spot, and it cost me money. But you know what, bro? Before we get too excited about the Mets, we got to see a little bit more. Listen, we've been Mets followers for many, many years, so it's a little too premature for that. But it's still football season, so you guys know the drill. Week 14 just concluded. Who or what stood out to you, Nick?
Cleveland Browns, they are gutting it out here. It's not pretty, but they got the job done. Lamar was out, but I knew even if Lamar played, I thought that played the full game. I thought the Browns were going to win because they're coming off a bye week. Their last game was against the Ravens, so very hard for a team to beat the same team in back-to-back scenarios like that. And now they're looking like they have a shot to actually take the division lead next week if Lamar's out again. And they're playing the Raiders, who looked absolutely lifeless. Terrible performance by them against the Chiefs.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't help, Nick. But, at the same time, too, Lamar Jackson did get knocked out of that game in the second quarter with an ankle injury. So something tells me if Lamar's in that game, it's a different story for Baltimore. However, Cleveland, you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what's in front of you. You got to take care of what's in front of you. So they took care of business with that one. They sure did, Cleveland. For me, Johnny, it's going to be the Niners over the Bengals. I was really a little bit surprised with that one. But, at the same time, I'm almost not surprised with it anymore because Cincinnati has just disappointed us ever since going, what was it, Nick? 5-2 after they beat Baltimore is what their record was, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, they were in first in the AFC.
For first place in their division and, just completely have nosed it dive since then. So I would say that the 49ers also maybe getting themselves back in contention for that second wild card spot. Well, obviously that's a bit of a stretch, but we'll see. Well, you never know. Maybe if they game and ball out, maybe they can be there.
The Niners, man, they've come alive. Absolutely 100%. I agree with that. As for the Browns, that was a team that I was backing this week because, first of all, they had the cover. They kind of melted down a little bit. Real quick, before I get into who or what stood out to me, guys, I've never seen this in my entire life. I don't think there's ever been a week where this happened. The NFL, they had four successful onside kick recoveries this week. And I felt like I was on the wrong side of every single one of them. I've never seen it in my life. Every team was recovering an onside kick. It was outrageous. But the Browns absolutely this was their
by the way, that's incredibly hard to do nowadays, by the way, the onside kick.
It is. Listen, the Browns, their season was on the line. They delivered. They are gutting it out, Nick. Just like you said, they're fighting. They have everything going against them this season with key injuries for extended periods of time. Now they have a major COVID outbreak in what could be a layup game versus the Raiders. Now it seems like there might be a lot more difficulty, even with the lifeless Raiders. Never know. But for me, the team that stood out is the team I've been riding with all season. I said it in my weekly taste on Sunday, this was their season on the line, the LA Rams. I called upon them to step up, and they did nothing but dazzle. They played nearly a perfect game. Matthew Stafford showed why I wanted to back him for MVP coming into the year. The Rams lose Jalen Ramsey 4 hours before kickoff. They lose Tyler Higbee. Darrell Henderson had COVID. What did they do? They go into Arizona and they put up a 30-piece. They made Rugrat, a.k.a. Kyler Murray, look just absolutely pathetic. James Conner, they stuffed him on the run. D-Hop, with no Jalen Ramsey, they took him out of the game. Like, this is the championship performance. Aaron Donald had his by far best game, showed up in the key moments when they needed it. They saved their season. Now, not only do they pretty much virtually lock up a playoff spot, knock wood, but now they're, if a couple things go their way, they're actually in contention for not only the NFC West crown, but like I said, man, a few things go their way, they're actually, in play for a 2 or even a 1 seed. Unfortunately, Green Bay holds it over them, but it's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a possibility thanks to Matt Stafford and company showing up big time. Love to see it. That's week 14. Now we got week 15.
I'd like to make a point on the Rams game real quick. I never seen such horrible coaching in the last 4 minutes of a game that I saw from Cliff Kingsbury. Absolutely bad. It's 30-20. You're going for it on 4th down. Kick the field goal. Make it a 1-possession game. That's the first thing. Next time you're bleeding clock. They eventually, get the field goal there, but you could have kicked it earlier, save some time. And at the end of the game, horrible penalties back to back. But how do you not tell Kyler Murray to spike the ball to at least have a shot to throw a Hail Mary? Because either way, it's going to be the last play of the game. It's only 3rd down, so might as well spike it, take a shot there. Cliff Kingsbury, he looked like Adam Gase with the Jets there. Really poorly coached game at the end.
No question.
Just one more thing real quick. It's going to be tough to unseed Green Bay out of that NFC number 1 seed. I'm telling you.
For the Rams, it is. Now, for the Rams, it is. Absolutely. And they have they don't have a layup schedule coming up. It's not butter for them. They're going to have to gut some of these wins out. But you know what, man? There's a shot. Aaron Rodgers, he's playing out of his mind right now. He's playing some of the best football we've ever seen him play. And let me tell you something. He's not even close to 100%. If you watched him against Chicago, he could barely move. And he's out of position, off balance, throwing dimes to Tay Adams, Lazard. I mean, he is arguably the most talented quarterback we have ever seen. And that includes Patrick Mahomes. Like the things Aaron Rodgers can do, and he's not even in his prime and he's not fully healthy, and he's still doing it at age 38. It's just incredible. And I'm not overreacting. Like, we've seen it time and time again. And I mean, it's insane, dude. It's insane. Imagine what we would see with Aaron Rodgers playing in Kansas City with Tyreek Hill, Kelsey under Andy Reid. It's just otherworldly. But it's week 15. There's a lot of key matchups going on. Only highlighted 2 this week early because I'm still waiting on a couple injury things to determine. So with that being said, Kyle, week 15, what's the matchup you're looking forward to the most, kid?
Well, Kansas City and LA Chargers there. Mr. Johnny is how that's going to go. Listen, Kansas City has come back to life. They had the Raiders stomping on their logo at Arrowhead at the beginning before the game started Sunday. That's a bad move. That's a really bad move if you're the Raiders, in my opinion. Don't kick the hornet's nest. You know what I mean? You got the win against them there last year. Don't go in there and be so damn boisterous that you're just going to go steamroll them because you haven't been hot yourself. You've played like hell ever since the Henry Ruggs thing. Let's just be real about the situation. As unfortunate as that situation was, it's just completely depleted the team and just combusted it. I mean, the Gruden thing was definitely something that pushed them over the edge, but that just was the icing on top of the cake there for them. But back to the competitors in that division now. The Chiefs and the Chargers, this should be a great game between 2 great young quarterbacks. I'm really looking forward to it. I would love to see Herbert put up at least 28 points along with Mahomes. I think this could be a high-scoring affair. I think everybody would love to see it fantasy-wise. Just, game-wise, just because two great young quarterbacks, and we're hopefully going to see this for the next 10 years between these two. I'm going to lean towards the Chiefs here. I think they're getting hot at the right time, and I think
Win
the Chargers
or cover.
just don't stop. I'm getting there. I just don't think that the Chargers have. I just don't think that the Chargers' run game is going to be able to stop the Chiefs, and Andy Reid's going to be able to take advantage of that with some of his packages that we've seen him use in Philadelphia before. That's made his run game so deadly in his offense. That being said, I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs with the points here. I probably would put it at about. I like them by 7 here. I like the Chiefs by 7, and then give me the over.
Nick?
Well, I'll comment on this game first, then I guess you'll give yours and I'll give you my game. But I like the Chargers in this one to win outright. So I would just go money line Chargers here because, I think it's going to be a 3-point game. That's for sure. Chargers, they showed how great their offense can be. It's the lifeless New York Giants. And I think the Chargers here, this is huge for them. Right now, like the Chiefs have kind of been in cruise control, taking on some porous defenses. And, I think the Chargers are probably going to put up 30 points. And I think they're undefeated this season when they've scored at least 30 points. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I ultimately think the Chargers will be able to score some more points than the Chiefs.
So
what do you got at 30 to 28?
Yeah, 30 to 28, 30, 27, something like that. 33, 30. Pretty close game.
So the number technically is the Chargers this season are 7-0 when they score 27 or more points. That's their magic number. That's the threshold for the LA Chargers. I see it this way. This line was up to 4 this afternoon on PointsBet. Chris Jones gets ruled out with COVID, which is the biggest loss that defense can have, and it drops to 3. Now, here's the deal. The Chiefs are nothing like what we've seen the last couple of years. They have a couple 40 pieces against the Raiders because the Raiders they're stubborn and they refuse to play the cover 2 shell, something that every single defense has played against them this year. That's what's held them in check. Now, Kansas City still won 6 in a row. Their defense is playing much better. I'm still not 100% sold that they're a legit defense by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, listen, when you're looking at it, Kansas City is starting to get hot. This is a team that, could you imagine that the Chargers are going to beat them twice in one season? I mean, I love Justin Herbert. I love LAC, but I just don't know if I'm buying the Chargers rolling into the second game of this season against Kansas City and taking them down. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game because I think the Chargers are going to try to establish the run. I don't know if they're going to keep. Here's also the problem with LA. Brandon Staley refuses to kick field goals. He always goes for it. He'll go for 2, and a lot of times that could lead to mistakes. If you don't get it, that could, completely cripple and over. So I think this is going to be more of a low-scoring game as LAC runs a cover 2 shell, keeps a lot of things underneath for Kansas City as they try to establish more short passes and the run, a little bit more clock control, and play tough defense. I like the Chiefs, who are absolutely streaking at the moment, to get their 7th straight win. And by the way, if the Chargers get this W, this could ultimately give them the AFC West crown. I don't see that happening. I think Kansas City has been quietly hanging around all year long, despite them not being who we've seen the last few years, and they get it done over Justin Herbert. I will say I expect a good game from Herbie, fully loaded. Career 3 games against KC, 8 tutties to 1 pick, 275 yards in every single game or more. Herbert's going to have a big one. Keen Daddy's going to have a nice one. But ultimately, I think Kansas City comes down in a lower scoring game. I would say somewhere along the lines of 24-21, 24-20. By the way, this is a Melvin Ingram revenge game. If you forget, the Chargers let Ingram go. He was one of the more prolific pass rushers the last few years. Let him walk out the door, goes to Pittsburgh, ends up going to Kansas City a month or so ago. Rocking number 24 as a D-end OLB. Look for Melvin Ingram to maybe get a sack or 2 in his revenge game. Your Honor, No objections. I love saying that. Kyle, what's your game of the week, bud?
I got you already asked me for game of the week, but I'll give you another one. I'll give you
wasn't
the
game
Packs
of the
game
week.
No.
whole.
I'm sorry. I confused Kyle with Nick. Nick, what's your game of the week?
Don't confuse us. That's some Cowboy shit right there.
Yeah.
Game of the week, Packers, Ravens. I'm interested to see if Lamar plays, but definitely love watching Aaron Rodgers and what he's doing right now. He's trying to get back in the MVP race. In my opinion, he's number 2 right now behind Brady. But yeah, if Jackson's playing, this is a great matchup at the 425 slot. Everybody's going to be tuning in and seeing what happens there. And it's huge. It's a huge game as far as the AFC playoff picture is concerned here to see what happens with the Ravens. So I know a lot of fans in the AFC are going to be rooting pretty hard for the Packers in this one. I do like the Packers -4.5. I'm pretty sure they're going to win this game by probably 5 points to a touchdown. But if obviously if Lamar Jackson's not playing, then this line's going to shoot way up, obviously, and the Packers will be heavily favored.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, Nick. I truly think that this is going to be a line determined by whether or not Lamar Jackson plays. This is just a soft kind of line right now that they're giving you, just, as if he would play. But I might want to try to go get to the window now with this one if I could, because I don't think he's going to make it this weekend. And I think you take the 4.5 right now as it is. And like I said, even if Lamar's in the lineup, I still would probably take the Packers by 7, just because of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay defense, which has just been getting better each and every week and is getting really in a good mode right now. And Baltimore doesn't really have a running game outside of Lamar Jackson. So now that you take out Lamar, you're basically taking away the Ravens running game. That makes them one-dimensional. When you make a team one-dimensional, it's very hard to win, especially in the NFL. Give me the Packers and give me the over here.
Here's my theory. This game was 5.5, even 6.5 over the last day or so. This has been aggressively bet down. It's tightened because Lamar Jackson is uncertain. Aaron Rodgers is uncertain. However, Aaron Rodgers went on Pat McAfee today and said he's going to play, but probably not practice a whole lot. That's going to be his routine. Like, he's in a lot of pain. His toe is getting worse. That's probably to be expected because this thing most likely needs surgery at the end of the year, but he's going to gut it out. He said he's going to play. So that being said, even if Lamar plays, he's very hobbled. I don't trust this guy as a passer. A lot of his success as a passer in his career thus far has come from his ability to run or the threat of him running. It changes the way a defense plays their scheme.
Linebackers play a lot more shallow to cover him scrambling outside the pocket.
You play a lot of zone. You cannot play man because you play man. That's when he's going to burn you. Now, if Lamar's limited, listen, I still like Green Bay -4.5. Now, if Jackson is ultimately ruled active, I'd imagine we could see this get to like a 4, even a 3.5 in terms of Green Bay being favored. But I still think, listen, no Marlon Humphrey for Baltimore. They've sustained so many injuries. It's outrageous. Whether Lamar plays or not, I would probably go with Kyle and back this at 4.5 because ultimately they're not going to disclose whether Lamar is going to play or not till probably around like Saturday, maybe even Sunday. They're going to take this down because John Harbaugh wants Matt LaFleur to have to prepare every single way. And listen, Ty Huntley, he played well in relief against Cleveland on Sunday, but he's not Lamar Jackson. And I think they're going to keep this a mystery. Ultimately, I don't think Lamar is going to play. I think they're going to try and push him out there as best they can. But if he ultimately does play, he's nowhere close to 100%. I think they're downplaying this low ankle sprain a little bit. So I like Green Bay here at -4.5. Rodgers, Tay Adams, they're going to keep cooking. They're going for the number 1 seed. That's the coveted buy. I think they're pedal to the metal right now.
Hey, do agree with you there, John. I just don't think that, with ball, even though Baltimore's backup came, his name has escaped me, even though you just mentioned it. But
Ty Huntley.
Ty Huntley. Even though he came in and did a good job and got them back within the game and got them within 2 points against Cleveland. That's Cleveland. It's not Green Bay. So that's a whole nother ball game. And I really don't think that, if he's playing this weekend, that he's going to be able to do that same kind of magic to keep, Baltimore within striking distance.
No, probably not. I mean, even though the front seven for Cleveland, I think is better than Green Bay, but the secondary has been so banged up. The secondary has been playing really good for Green Bay. I think they've only allowed one or two 300-yard passing performances this season. They've only allowed 30 points, I believe, one time. They've been awesome. They've been awesome this year. I would tend to agree with you. If you take away the ability for Lamar Jackson, if he plays, to run effectively and make him be a pocket passer consistently, I think Green Bay has a real advantage. The one thing that concerns me is, even though the Ravens defense is just sustained all these injuries, Wink Martindale, their defensive coordinator, is like that kid in Madden that would not know what he's doing. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing, but that kid growing up that would just hit engage 8 every time on defense, literally send the house. I feel like that's what he's going to do. He blitzes, I think, at a league high rate. And, Rodgers can't really move that well. So I feel like he's going to test him early. I mean, of course, LaFleur, as he's done. Yeah, exactly. And he can hardly move. But I feel like, they're going to get a lot of the short passing game, get the ball out of his hands quick. So I think ultimately Green Bay will make the adjustments to be able to not only win, but cover this game as well. I probably would stay away until we know for a fact, like, who's in, who's out. But ultimately, if you force me to pick a side right now, I'm taking Green Bay minus 4.5, especially with the news that Aaron Rodgers said he's going to be playing and probably just not practicing a lot. Now, for my game that we're looking at, this is a big one. This is a monster, noteworthy game in the AFC. The Patriots at the Colts. Currently, the Colts are 2.5-point favorites at home, both coming off a bye week. Very intriguing. Before I give my opinion, Nick, where are you going with this game?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean with the Patriots here if we're giving them points. So Patriots plus 2.5. I think ultimately, if you give Belichick a bye week, he's going to have a lot of time to prepare, and I think he'll be ready for Carson Wentz. But can he stop Jonathan Taylor? I'm not too sure anybody can at this point. So I'm not really comfortable picking this one, but I would lean towards the Patriots. I think I go under as well. 2 teams off a bye week, probably honing in on defense most likely. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Patriots win, somewhere around like 23 points. Maybe the Colts score 17, something like that.
All right, I could see that a little bit, but you know what? Also at the same time, Nick, I don't know if I could see it like that, because look, Mac Jones has been very good recently. He's only had 2 picks in his last 7 games. Carson Wentz has played well with Indy recently. They haven't really given the ball away, but also they haven't really been tested, I feel like, by too many defenses. And the Pats defense is tied for 3rd in the NFL with 26 takeaways. So you tell me what's going to happen this weekend. I think it's going to be New England, and I think it's going to be probably more like a 20-10 kind of battle. I could see it being like that. And I obviously would go with the under there. But more to that is, I think Mac Jones has been really, really good at not turning the ball over this year and really just playing simple football, especially for a rookie. So what I really want to see out of him, if New England's going to win 20-10 like that, he needs to pass for at least 250 and have 2 touchdowns, in my opinion, because Indianapolis, is going to sell out for the run. I'm really convinced they're going to try to do everything that they can to stop Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. So this is where I think Mac Jones is going to have to step up. And even though it's against a Colts secondary that's halfway decent, he's going to have to prove it a little bit with his arm and make some key throws in some tight spots.
You're both taking New England. I've had issues the last couple of days trying to wrap my head around this game. I could see it. These teams are built very similar. This is a very difficult one to call. There's been a lot of action, movement. Here's my thing. If this game gets to 3, I might be inclined to take New England. New England, I do believe they're undefeated on the road this year. They're 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread. Would you believe Indianapolis has not beaten the Patriots since what year? 2009, losers of 8 straight. Ultimately, here's what I think. Although Bill Belichick historically takes away what you do best, and for the Colts, that's clearly run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. He's going to try and make Carson Wentz beat him. While I do see that, ultimately, I think Indy is going to gut this one out. Why? They need this. They have played so well. They've won 4 of their last 5, 6 of their last 8. They have heated up at the right time. They're playing like they want a playoff spot, and I think they're going to get it. This is a game where they have to have. I understand this isn't meaningless for New England either. They're fighting for the number 1 seed. They're fighting to keep the AFC East away with the Buffalo Bills at bay. I get it. But I think this game means more to Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor, when he rushes for 100 yards this season, the Colts are 7-0. Get this. When he doesn't rush for 100 yards, they're 0-6. He's got 18 touchdowns total in his last 10 games. He's got 10 straight games with a touchdown. This guy is absolutely on fire. 2 defenses, both top 3 in takeaways. The Colts lead the league with 29. I think ultimately Indianapolis comes away with the win. I would back them at -2.5. If this got to 3, then it's a little bit of a different story. But as of right now, Indianapolis, this game means more to them at home. I think they find a way to get it done. I love what New England's doing this year. They are a very tough team, and Mac Jones has played well when called upon. Their run game has done what it has to do. Their defense has played very well, opportunistic. But ultimately, this is Indianapolis's game. They need this. It's almost like their season's on the line with this, with all these AFC teams clamoring for a playoff spot. That being said, we got the Gambling Guinea's best betting trend of the night. We're keeping it simple. By the way, a clean slate, 7-0 last week. Get your brooms because it's a mess. We're going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals, +1.5 at the Denver Broncos. Ultimately, this is kind of a crapshoot, sneaky game where both teams are right there for an AFC spot. Here's my thing about the Cincinnati Bengals. They are a team that is built to play with a lead. They cannot come from behind. They've been down. When they've been down by 10 points or more this year, they're 1-5. That one win was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Doesn't impress me. They've gotten away from the running game. They were going heavy ground and pound with Joe Mixon. You know, they got down a little bit, had to vacate the run, and it worried me a little bit. But ultimately, I think against the Denver Broncos, who love to run the ball themselves, here's the issue. Cincinnati's got a top 4 rush defense. I think they're going to be able to stymie the Denver Broncos offense just enough. Joe Burrow's going to have a good enough game. I think Cincinnati squeaks this one out, not only covers the 1.5, but they win outright on the road. Both teams desperately need a win. But if Cincinnati loses, when they got a pretty solidly tough schedule coming up, I think you could write it home that they're done, that they're absolutely done. Let's go Cincinnati. For the emerging player of the night, brought to you by our Emerge Sports Group, our boy Jay Hen, I'm going to go with Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders, a.k.a. the real-life Van Wilder. Basically graduated college when he was like 24 years old. If you haven't seen Van Wilder, you're missing out because it's a really good show. Renfrow, or good movie. Renfrow has been on fire. Other than maybe like Devontae Adams, Renfro's been the hottest receiver in football the last few weeks. 3 straight 100-yard games. He is one of the crispier route runners in the NFL. Nobody really talks about him. He plays in Vegas on a bad team. He wasn't a high recruit. Like he's not, I don't know. He's just not that guy that
jumps off the page and is sexy.
Yeah, he's not okay. That's the right word. He's not that sexy, but he's been producing lights out. So we've got to give him his due, man. I wonder if he's going to make it 4 straight this weekend against Cleveland, 4 straight 100-yard games. As we're wrapping up here, we got our final thoughts. Kyle, let's hear them.
Well, my final thoughts are the Army-Navy game that occurred at MetLife Stadium this past weekend. It was wow, what a game! It was another true Army-Navy classic. I wish I could have been there, but I wasn't feeling well. I really wasn't. I was in just an absolute mess that morning. But my dad did get to go see it, so good for him that he really got to go see a great game. But forget about the game; it's about the tradition and everything that goes into that game. Because all those guys that graduated, even the guy Fabian Fago, I believe his name was, he made the game, made a great play on fourth down to force Army to turn the ball over, and Navy kneeled on it, and all those guys that are seniors that's their last game that they're now going to service. So I'm very thankful for them that they make that kind of sacrifice and they get to play college football, one of the greatest games, in sports, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well said, Kyle. And speaking of Hunter Renfrow, what the heck are the Red Sox doing? Dumping Renfrow for Jackie Bradley Jr.?
I don't know. That was not a great move. He didn't have a great He didn't have a great postseason.
Yeah, what did he hit? 33 home runs or something?
Well, no, I was totally getting there, Nick. I was gonna back you up and saying I don't know what the hell they're doing. They shouldn't have gotten rid of him. Jackie Bradley Jr. Was a good glove. Don't get me wrong. He's a really great glove out there in center, but he's not there with the bat. And I know Hunter Renfrow had a down offseason, like I said, but postseason rather. Excuse me. He's just got. You got to fight through that sometimes. Maybe give him another crack at it this year, but we'll never know.
All right. Now, my final thoughts, a few things. First, I'll stick with the baseball. Winter is coming, as we know, but the hot stove, we miss it. We need it to keep us warm, so hopefully something get worked out with the CBA. Get some more signings and whatnot. Always keeps you excited, especially January, February, where there's not much going on in sports other than basketball and hockey. Although the New York Rangers look pretty good. Sorry, Kyle. We'll see what happens there. We got some manager up openings, of course, with the A's and the Mets. Hope the Mets, I said earlier, get Showalter, but I think you need to somebody needs to give Beltran a shot here. I mean, this guy's being blackballed now. Hinch is back. Core is back, so give Beltran a shot. I think that's key there. College football playoff. Really hoping that we get a Michigan-Cincinnati championship game. Very unlikely, but I do not want anybody from the SEC winning the championship. So I guess I'll put all my eggs in the Michigan basket. It was great to see them beat Ohio State. Kyle, very sorry about Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame, but it seems like the players love Freeman, so hopefully he's a good coach.
He doesn't want the recruiting restrictions at Notre Dame that he's clearly not going to have to.
And he's also getting $90 million. I mean, you can't turn that down.
Again, Nick, I can't blame him because he's going and taking an SEC job where he's clearly got more access to more stuff and just it's the nature of the beast now with what college football is becoming.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about college football, so I got to take my chance here to take my shot at Steve Sarkisian, who I think is a horrendous head football coach. Johnny knows how great he was as the offensive coordinator with the Falcons, but Texas Longhorns, hook them. I mean, they're going in the wrong direction. They're going to the SEC. They're going to be a last place team because they can't even compete in the Big 12. Unbelievable. And lastly, everybody knows I do another podcast. You know I'm right. We're having our first sponsored event, a tailgate event at MetLife Stadium for the Bucks and Jets game. There'll be a lot of Bucks fans there. Hoping that some of the Gronkowski brothers make an appearance. Maybe one of them happened to be on the show before. So if you're interested in that, go to @YKIR podcast on Instagram, and you'll see all the details there. Or send a message to us there or on Facebook at the You Know I'm Right podcast. Thank you very much. Good to be back with you guys.
Great to be back with you too, Nick. Winter is coming in Garland, Texas.
All right, Kyle. Enough. Anyway, well, Nick, real quick, just you missed it. Justin Verlander, Tommy John surgery, but the Astros still signed him 2 years, $50 million. He's making $25 million a year, coming off the dreaded TJ. So, age 39. I'm sure he's still got a lot left in the tank. Took the year off, healed up, got right. I'm sure he's got a couple of years. He's going to try and find that Tom Brady fountain of youth and not let that future Hall of Fame career be done just yet. But I got to say my final thoughts. Denver Broncos, man. They unfortunately lost to Marius Thomas on Thursday suddenly. Very sad. He was one of the most productive receivers of the 2010s. And, you know, he made a lot of big moments, played with Peyton Manning, part of that historic 2013 season, record setting. You know, DT, I believe he had 4 straight 90-catch seasons, the only guy in the decade to do that. And
play with Tebow.
Yeah, they honored him. Very nice tribute. Only 10 men took the field on the opening play. They took the delay of game. They had a very nice, mural outside the stadium. Von Miller, even last night in his game, he wore the 88 decal on his helmet. Obviously, they played together a long time, so very touching tribute. Going to miss Demarius, but I'm sure he would have loved that send-off. So, just got to be thankful for every day. But it was a pleasure watching him. Very exciting player and even better person from everybody that knew him. But we appreciate you joining us here on this Tuesday evening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. I'm at _JohnnyVTV. He's at Nick_Durst. Kyle still has not gotten to Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. I'm at Gambling
It's only been 40 shows, Kyle. What are you waiting
Only
for?
been 40 shows.
I'm just holding out. I'm holding out.
At Nick's Food and Stuff and the Kyle Donnelly. Tune in next week. More fantasy football related content that we did not deliver. And of course, more betting content. Thanks everybody for joining. Talk to you next week. Ciao.